everyone, and welcome to the Birth Boot Camp podcast. I'm Holly Hopley, the CEO.
I'm Cheryl Ameling, the certification coordinator.
And today we are really excited to have Melanie Cabaniss with us. I pronounced your last name right.
Yeah. You did.
Okay, I should have asked you before we started, but I was like, oh man.
Okay.
Melanie is one of our very few that is certified as an instructor in a birth and a postpartum doula. So we have just loved having you. You're kind of one of those people that I describe as like a breath of fresh air. We've loved having you. So will you just start by telling us a little bit about you, where you're from, your family? The basics.
Okay, sure. So I'm Melanie. I'll be 32 this month. I have one daughter, Amelia, and David and I have been together for almost 9 years. We don't do anything the conventional way, so we're not married, but we will be. And I was a domestic violence advocate for 4.5 years, so I have a background in social work. I've done a lot of other jobs. I discovered quickly that the 8 to 5 is not for me. And so it took me a while to find like my calling, I guess, and my purpose. And Birth Boot Camp found me, and I'm so thankful for that. And this past year, I've been a full-time birth worker. Didn't expect it to be full-time so quickly. I had read stories of people that it took years to become a full-time thing or never became a full-time thing, so it's not what I anticipated. But it's just become what it is, and it's just really fun. I feel very validated in this work, so yeah, just excited to be here. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I love seeing when our people like leave training and just have success. You know, they put that work in and then they see the returns on that. So tell us a little bit about how you got into it, and maybe like how did you find birth work? Because, you know, like you said, like you decided that the 9 to 5 wasn't for you. So what like led you down this path?
It started with my own birth experience. I didn't even know that birth work was like a thing. I didn't know doulas existed until I had my daughter, and I didn't even have a doula. At that time, I still thought midwives and doulas were the same thing, which I know a lot of people can relate to that. I've gotten a lot of comments and questions confusing the two. But I had a really positive birth experience, and I was really avid on social media at the time, and so I openly shared my whole birth story, and I got comments and messages of people of their horror stories. And they're like, I'm glad you had a good experience, but mine was terrible. And I was shocked by that. I guess I was naive, but I didn't realize that so many people had bad experiences. And so that kind of sparked a passion to like change like the narrative of that. Like and you know, just I don't know, just help people have a positive experience. I knew that it was possible. I had a hospital birth. I didn't have any of the stories that I've heard, and I just had, I mean, everything just worked out, you know, like I thought it should. And in a sense, I didn't make it to the hospital that I planned to deliver at. That was a little side note, but once I arrived, everything was perfect. And so that kind of sparked just a passion to just change it. And then I still didn't know what that looked like. I didn't know what birth work looked like at the time, but that passion was there. And then I started following some friends that became doulas and started asking questions like, okay, how did you get into this? And then I kind of like, I was a stay-at-home mom for a year and a half, and David worked in heat and air for that whole time, and then he lost his job unexpectedly. And so it kind of gave me the opportunity to like pursue something for myself and, you know, begin a career again. And so that's what kind of pushed me into looking into birth work more seriously. And I looked at several organizations and I had almost decided on one, and then they didn't have a in-person training. And so that's what brought me back to Birth Boot Camp, because you guys were the only organization having in-person trainings. And I'm a hands-on learner, so I knew that that was going to be best for me. And also, I had assistance with my tribe, and the other organization like didn't really accept that. They just didn't respond. And you, Holly, were like so just on board with it and like really easy to work with in that aspect. And so that was really a blessing to have that assistance. And it's, it's rare to be able to start a career and not have like a lot of investment, right? Like I didn't start negative, where I went to college, I have a bachelor's degree, I have student loans from that still. And so to be able to have a career that you can actually start positive, or at least, at neutral, like that's really rare in our society. And so that was a blessing in itself. Um, and I like to say that Birth Boot Camp found me because I was searching other organizations, and then like I would hop on Facebook and immediately I would see a Birth Boot Camp ad. And so it just kept popping up. And again, like you were so just easy to work with and responded to me so quickly, and that helped a lot. And I quickly realized like headquarters in Birth Boot Camp, like you guys really are a family, and you're just like welcoming and just super easy to work with. And um yeah, I was sold with that. But the in-person
I love
trainings,
all of
like
that.
there's nothing like an in-person training. Like I knew that it was going to be beneficial, but I didn't expect like the lifelong friendships that come from trainings. Um, I think I went to all three trainings, but my favorite one was the postpartum doula training because we slept in
Hey
bunk
now.
beds, and there's
I'm kidding.
just what
I said, hey now, but I'm totally kidding.
yours. I loved yours too. Like it's hard to pick a favorite, but that was our biggest group, and you're
Yeah.
sleeping in bunk beds with like three other women. We had two sets of bunk beds. And there's just something about that like brings back the nostalgia of like camps from, when I was a kid, and just that bonding experience that you get from sharing a house with people that you barely know. Um, there's
How
nothing
many
like it.
people were in
And
that training?
I think we had
Oh,
14. You can
I
correct me if that's wrong.
it was somewhere, but it was like more than 10. I don't remember exactly how many,
Yeah.
Yeah.
but
I mean,
I
that's
know we
yeah.
had a
fun.
couple missing, but yeah,
hmm It
it
was
was
it was a
awesome.
lot of fun. We rented a big house, and yeah, a majority of people stayed there, not everybody, but it was a lot of fun.
Yeah. Yeah, some
I
were
love that.
local.
A big
hmm
birthday
But
sleepover. I mean, that sounds dreamy.
yeah, right. It
Yeah.
was awesome. And having Christy there was, oh my goodness, she made us laugh so much.
She's
She's
So
hysterical.
hilarious. You don't
she really
expect,
is.
like when she walks in, you don't expect her to be the way she is. She's amazing. Hilarious.
Yeah.
Yep.
And the way that she trains, like I still rewatch the video of her giving a bath to a baby. It was just a baby doll, but it was like the most precious thing I've ever witnessed. Um, and you could just tell that like she really like loves her clients. And so I took that into uh my job that I have now. And I think that's part of why they kept me for a year. I don't know. It started out as like a 4-week contract, and I'm still in it. So, um, I attribute that to our training. I think that we're just trained so thoroughly that you really can go out and just immediately start working. And that's what happened for me. And I chose to work with an agency. You have a lot of choices when you are certified. And that's the cool thing about the trainings is that you walk out certified, like ready to go. Other organizations, you still have work to do after your workshop or however it is, if it's online or whatever. And so I think that's just amazing that you can just go into it confidently. Um, so I chose to work with an agency because they were established in our community, and um, the name is Thrive Mama Collective. They're in Oklahoma City. and they've been established for I think 8 years now, and so I was just drawn to them, and it's been incredible to work with them. I've been able to serve 4 families postpartum, um, 3 at the same time. I probably
Oh,
won't do that
wow.
again.
Wow, that's a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm part of why like I chose to do all 3 is because I'm an all or nothing kind of person. And so um
I was just about
I
to
just
ask you that, like why you did all
yeah,
three.
yeah, I know. Well, it's kind of crazy. Not that many people do all 3. They kind of choose one to focus on and then maybe add one later. But I just wanted to serve families in all aspects. And it's been really neat to see that be a reality, and walk with a family through pregnancy and birth and then postpartum. Um, I do 3 postpartum visits with my birth clients because I'm so passionate about that support after birth. So, and not that many people in my area do that.
Yeah,
But
that's not
because
super
of our
common.
postpartum training, I added the tuck-in service, which if you're
Mm.
not familiar with that, it is you're taking a meal to the family after they get home from the hospital, or if they're having a home birth, just the next day or whenever they're ready for you. Um, it's been different for every couple, which is really neat to be able to customize that for them. But then I just kind of like reset their space. And so if that means starting laundry or, cleaning the nursery or whatever was left when you're in labor, right? Because you're not focused on your house at the
Hmm.
time unless you're trying to get through early labor and you need to distract yourself. But otherwise, some things get left behind. And so I kind of come in and just reset that space for you so that the transition to home is a little bit easier. And I think just having someone else's presence there that's not your family can help tremendously, because we can see things that your family may not be able to see, um, as far as, postpartum mood
Hmm.
disorders or depression goes. And so um, that's been really neat to be able to serve families a little bit longer than normal.
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah, I
and in
remember
my
at training,
contract,
we kind of like, we all kind of brainstormed this like tuck-in service that I
right?
think, I think it's a genius idea. I'm like, I could have
Yeah,
really used that. I remember after my first, like getting home from the hospital, I'm like, man, that would have been so nice to have somebody there just to really help you get settled in when you get home.
yeah.
I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah, I've been hired just because of that, because no one else is offering that. So that's been really
Hmm.
neat.
that's really cool.
Yeah.
Can you tell us about, okay, so which certification did you do first, or tell us the order that you did the
Oh, sure.
certifications?
Yes. So I did my birth doula training in October of 2021, and I didn't attend a birth until February of 2022. So it took me a little bit, to get into that, to attending
Mhm.
births. Um, and then November was my instructor training of 2021. And then the following March, at the end of March, was the postpartum training.
Okay,
So,
awesome. And can you tell us about the like the certification process? So you said, and we know that like you leave certified, you leave the workshop certified. So
mhm.
what happens before the workshop? And kind of
A lot
how
of,
did you do all of that?
I had a friend, Tamara, that did the trainings with me. She did all 3 trainings. And so that helped a lot because we kept each other accountable. And so I highly like recommend finding someone else that's training at the same time. Um, And I had some other people that I would keep accountable to that never got to meet in person, but because of the Facebook groups that we have, with Birth Boot Camp, you're connected to other people. And so take advantage of that because having other people help you is just, I mean, it's just amazing.
Mhm.
Um, I'm a mom, and so, we get busy as moms. And so I would have to like set alarms on my phone or like set deadlines for myself. Um, and I used Audible for several of the books. I used my local library for several of the books. And then I ended up like ordering all of them anyway because they were so good and I wanted to keep reading them.
So
Hmm.
you read a lot of books because over
Yeah,
3 certifications, that's
yeah.
a
Yeah,
good
that's a
number.
The
lot.
That's a lot of books.
yeah.
So like the
The good thing
prerequisite.
is that Some of them overlap. I think like maybe two books,
Yeah, a few of
not a
them
lot.
do. Hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And as far as like watching the online class, like you technically only have to do that once. Um
Right.
so, yeah, so there's some things that overlap, so that helps a little bit. But
Mhm.
um yeah, I set up like my own little office station behind our couch so that I was still like with my family but focusing at the same time. Um and I just powered through as much as I could at one time. And then I would just listen to the books every time I drove. Um, yeah,
Yeah.
you find a way.
Hmm.
Yeah. Yeah.
Hmm.
So there's work that you have to do, like that you have to complete, and then
Mhm,
you come to the workshop. And that's how we're able to have, have everybody, have the trainees leave certified, is that all the work is done beforehand. Um, which is also beneficial because everybody comes on the same page. Everybody has the same basic
mhm,
knowledge. Everybody's read the same books, watched the same videos, watched the same documentaries. So while we're together, we can talk about those things, and everybody knows what we're talking about. And we can there's less educating happening at the workshop and more
mhm,
business training happening at the workshops, and more like the hands-on things like you were talking about. So yeah, the way that we do it is pretty unique, and I think it's so beneficial to the trainees.
mhm.
Hmm.
Yeah. I think another thing is like get your family involved. You know, if this is something that you're doing for your family, like, I mean, David watched the documentary with me for the postpartum training, which was a hard one to watch, but
Hmm.
um, he was right there with me, like learning. And he's he likes to know when I'm at a birth and when the baby's been born, but that's all. He doesn't want any details or anything, but he's
Hmm.
still like involved. And I could not do the things that I do without him. So
Yeah,
he stays home full time so that I can be gone 5 nights a week. So
yeah. So what's your favorite part of being part of birth boot camp?
oh, that's a hard question. There's so many good things. I really think just like the community that we have, that's been something that's always been important to me throughout my life is community and just like the friendships and the genuine friendships that you have. It's not just virtual friends. Like anytime we get together, even right now, like just being in that birth bubble is something that's so special. Um, and just being with like-minded people that have the same passion. There's
Yeah,
nothing like it.
I love that.
I think that's what we all like. It all boils down to like that we do. We have a really awesome community.
Hmm.
So,
Yeah,
yep.
I agree.
So like you mentioned, like you are away 5 nights a week.
Mhm.
How and you mentioned your family too and stuff like that. So tell us how you make it work and how you manage everything just like with everyday life and stuff.
Yeah, it's a constant like learning and like adjustment. It was a big adjustment for all of us, with me working overnights. I think if you work daytimes, like you can still kind of work that into your schedule and it's not really as drastic as like overnights. Because there are days where I come home like today and I don't sleep. I just stay up all day, and like catch up on the weekends. Or I'll come home and I'm exhausted and I have to sleep. And so David takes over and locks the door for me, and I sleep as long as I need to, and then I'm present after that. Um, but there have been times because I attend births too that I work an overnight shift, go straight to a birth, and go straight back to overnight.
Oh
Uh,
my
Melanie.
goodness.
I've, yeah, I've done that 3 times.
Oh my goodness.
Really like in the last few months. It works out perfectly, but at the same time, like you don't get that like after birth nap or like recovery.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Mm-hmm.
so yeah, that's probably been the hardest part is just like finding time to sleep and not carrying that guilt that I'm like not present because I'm having to rest.
Mm-hmm.
Um,
Yeah. Okay, so tell me how um Like, what do you do for self-care then? How do you take care of yourself when you're not getting as much sleep?
Well, this is something that not everybody can do, but I call it altitude therapy. I'm a hot air balloon pilot on the side.
Mm-hmm.
I know that's probably hard to believe because I don't have a lot of time left over, but I fit it in. It works. But yeah, I think just doing things that I love. So being in a hot air balloon, traveling, I will attend 7 festivals this year. And so, and my overnight family has been gracious about my schedule with that. Um, but I think just like finding an outlet or doing something that you really enjoy. Um, I today I'm gonna pick up an inflatable kayak so that I can go
Oh,
kayaking
fun.
whenever I want to
Mm-hmm.
um, after a shift. Because I think the hardest part for me is like I love working out and I still haven't really found like a good workout schedule because I love to work out in the morning, but choosing between sleep and working out is kind of
Mm-hmm.
difficult. So I'm hoping that if I can get myself in a kayak, then that will give me some
Mm-hmm.
exercise and another outlet.
Yeah.
But massages are great too. I think, treating yourself, um, I don't know, but my self-care is more just activity based, I guess.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I remember when you told us all at training that you did hot air balloons, everybody was like, wait, what? That's not something you hear every day.
Yeah,
So, yeah.
babies and balloons. It
Mm-hmm.
works somehow.
Love
Yeah.
that. I love that. So what advice do you have for like people coming into birth work who want to like try to make this, make this their full-time gig? What advice do you have?
Find your limits. I have found mine in the last year, and I only take 2 birth clients a month because I feel like that's the number for me. I can serve them really well, and I have less scheduling conflicts with my postpartum families. And then I only teach one comprehensive class at a time, and I do it a private class. And then I do only like one basic training class a month, if that. I haven't even scheduled any for this year. I'm kind of like taking a little break from that. Just because last year, like I did it all like full force. And so I'm kind of finding,
Mm-hmm.
my boundaries and how I can still be present with my family and do what I love too. So yeah, find your boundaries and stick to them. And don't be afraid to say no. I'm learning
Mm-hmm.
that too.
Oh,
Yep.
such good advice and so
And it's
hard to
so
do.
hard. Yep. Especially when you like when you're in a career and birth work and we are so passionate about it and we love it. It's so hard for us to be like, you know what, I'm not taking any more clients this month, or I'm, like you said, like you're not gonna teach classes for a few months or whatever. So kudos to you because it's hard.
Yeah, it
Mhm.
is. And I've experienced burnout in my other career, and so I'm really cautious about not experiencing that with this because I want to be able to do this long term. Um,
Hmm.
so you have
Yeah.
to kind of be aware of what you can take.
Yep,
Right.
absolutely. I love that.
Do you have any advice for those like other birth boot camp people who are kind of on the fence, like, oh, do I want to dual certify or I might want to try certify? Like, do you have any thoughts or advice for our people out there who are considering doing more than one or jumping into
Yeah,
all
I
three?
mean, just do it, try it and see what really is your passion. I really expected births to be like my top thing. I thought I was going to be attending 4 to 5 births a month. And then postpartum came along and that became the forefront for me. But I don't know that it's always going to be the forefront. So if you have, multiple certifications, then you can kind of pick and choose what you focus on. And I think that is going to help me not have burnout because I can switch it up a little bit, and do something different. Um, I don't know how long I'm going to have this contract, but when it does end, I'll have a chance to shift my focus. So I think having multiple certifications, it just gives you more options. And it doesn't mean that you have to commit to it. And, we have recertification every year. So if you do a training and you decide, maybe that wasn't for you, then you don't have to recertify in that. So, but I think it's totally worth trying it out and just taking a chance.
Mhm.
I think that's perfect.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Well, this has been good. I've loved hearing kind of like your perspective after you've done all of it. Can you think of anything else that you would want to share about, being a birth professional or doing this work or anything like that?
One of my funny, not funny tips from David, I asked him before this, I was like, what would you say to like spouses of birth workers? And
Mm-hmm.
he said to invest in a body pillow. So
Oh, I
I
love
bought him
that.
one.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, because I calculated how many nights I've actually spent here at my house, and it's less than 100 for the last year. So, um,
Wow.
yeah, I know that's not typical for everybody, especially if you're just like mainly attending births, you may miss a
Right.
night here or there, but
Right.
yeah.
Yeah. Well, I mean, postpartum work is becoming much more popular. I'm seeing the demand for it really on the rise over the last few years. And there are a lot of postpartum doulas who they do overnights and then they're home with their kids. And like and they make a decent living doing
Mhm.
just that. So that's one thing I love about birth work in general is you can make it work how like for you and your family, whether if you decide that being on call is not for you and going to birth, then you can do
Mhm.
postpartum work that's more scheduled and you can make it work for your family. So that's one thing I've always
Yeah,
loved
and
about it.
I mean, I personally love overnights, but I love the daytime too. Like just being able to help a family in general, is so amazing. And
Hmm.
with this family that I've been with for a year, like I've really gotten to know them well, and I've given myself labels of like marriage saver because you really are. Like you are helping them get sleep, and when parents get sleep, they're able to respond to each other better. They're able to be more present during the day with their children. And I think there's just so many benefits from that. So, um, and it's fulfilling work because I mean, I've been in careers before where I never got a thank you. And then you're coming into birth work and it's like you're constantly being thanked. And you're like, you're the rock star, not me. Like, I didn't do
Hmm.
anything, but just that mutual appreciation and just like gratitude, there's no other career like it that I've found.
I love
Hmm.
that.
Yep. I 100% agree.
That's amazing.
Awesome. Well, thanks so much for being on with us today.
Yeah.
This was great.
Where
Thank
can we
you.
find you, Melanie? Where can we are you on social? Do you have a website? Where can we follow you?
Yes. I'm on Instagram at Lavender Sage Doula, and I have a website, lavendersagedoula.com, and a Facebook page, Melanie Cabaniss dash Lavender Sage Doula.
Okay. And where are you
Awesome.
located? I don't remember if you said.
Oh, Edmond, Oklahoma. Sorry, I don't think I said
Okay.
that.
Okay.
All right.
Awesome.
Well, now
Great.
people can find you if they're in that area.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Awesome.
Thank you.
Well, thanks for tuning in, everybody. If you have any questions for Melanie, you can feel free to send us a message and we can send them on to her. But feel free to subscribe, leave us a review, and we will talk to you guys next week.